Hi, this is Mr. Phil with another math video. Today we're going to talk about a new skill that kids have been learning in class for the last couple of days. And that skill is rounding to the nearest 10 and to the nearest 100. So we're going to work through two problems here today. We're going to be looking at the kind of method that we're using for rounding in class with the new Swan math program, which is pretty different from what you probably learned as an adult growing up when you were going to school. So let me go ahead and just break it down, show you how the process works so that you understand what kids are doing with their rounding in class. So let's look at the first question here. It says round 453 to the nearest 10. So there's math language there. Round is a math phrase. Nearest 10 is a keyword there as well. As with any problem, we do RDW process, read the problem, draw a model of the problem, write your answer. Okay, now when we round, we are basically looking for a 10 or a 100 that your number is closest to. So the first thing we want to do is we want to write our number out nice and big so we can manipulate and use it. Since the problem is asking us to round to the nearest 10, we're going to focus in on the tens place. So I'm going to underline the 5 tens and 453. Okay, now, this is the big step that makes this type of rounding different from what we did before, where you looked at the next digit and said, am I going up or going down? Okay, now, we don't just look at the next digit and memorize what to do. We actually visually conceptualize the idea of rounding by working with the number line. So we're rounding to the nearest 10. That means I'm going to set up a number line that has a beginning point and an end point. At the beginning point, I've got to think about the 10 that comes right before 453. So if I'm counting by tens, I would go 410, 420, 430, 440, 450. That would be my 10 down here. Then on the other side, I've got to think about what 10 comes after 453. So 450, then we would have 460. So now I'm kind of showing that this number will either round down to 450 or round up to 460. It just depends on what the ones place is. Okay, now, to make the process easy for students to kind of see what 10 is closest, our next step is to find the middle point between these two numbers. So right here is the halfway point, and the number that's halfway between 450 and 460 is 455. Finally, I'm going to take my number and place it on the number line. So 453 would be right about here, a little bit before 455. Now to round, I just look at it and say, okay, is it closer to 460 or is it closer to 450? Since it's on the left-hand side of this midpoint here, I'm going to round my number down to 450. For my W, my written response, just make sure using math language. I can say something like 453 rounded to the nearest 10 is 450. And that's essentially the process. Called by W. Okay, let's do it one more time, but this time let's round to the nearest 100. So write my RDW. Math phrases, round, nearest 100. Okay, same beginning step. I'm going to write my number that I'm rounding nice and big. 347. Now for this one, I'm focusing on the hundreds place. So I'm going to go ahead and underline my hundreds place, 300. Next, I'm going to go ahead and set up my number line. So when you do this, you have to think, if I round down, where do I go? If I round up, where would I go? Well, if I round this down to the nearest 100, the closest 100 to 347 is going to be 300. If I were to round it up, the next 100 would be 400. My midpoint, right in the middle, because I'm counting by tens, will be 350. Now I'm going to take my number, 347, and place it on the number line. It's going to be close to 350, but since I'd say 350 after 347, it's going to go to the left of 350. Probably really close, right about here. So then you just have to look and decide, what 100 am I closer to? Am I closer to 400 or closer to 300? Well, since I'm to the left of the middle and numbers to the left are going down, I'm going to be rounding down to 300. I can cross off my read and my draw model now. Okay, I'm going to do my W. 347 rounded to the nearest 100 is 300. Okay, now, I know that when I was growing up, I learned things like look at the next place value. If it's 5 or less, round down. If it's less than 5, round down. If it's 5 or more, round up. But I think the key thing to remember here is that this is the introduction to rounding for our students, and we should probably start the conceptual awareness of it first, like understanding why you round down or why you round up, instead of just asking them to memorize, less than 5, round down, 5 or more, round up. I think this step is important in developing that number awareness, and then you can introduce the algorithm or the memorization a little bit later. But I think it's good for them to see why you round down or why you round up before you just memorize and just do it for memorization. So that's how we approach rounding with the number line. Thank you for watching.